Welcome back to another episode of Measured. We appreciate you joining us today. Today, we are going to take a look into email. We've spent many episodes talking about growing organically, having success with paid ads, just talking about web in general. But really, the whole focus about this episode is you have your own data. Not too many different avenues. Do you have your own data that you can market to, and how few of our customers, and I'm guessing this is just kind of in general, are utilizing their own lists to keep on growing their customer base. Or I shouldn't even say their customer base. So there's two things we'll talk about. One is growing your customer base with your site. The second is utilizing the customers you already have. We'll have our customer question, as always, end with our featured project. So biggest thing is email is more than a newsletter. And we just need you to realize that right now, that when we're talking about email, we're not talking about you just sending out a little message overviewing of everything that happened the month prior. So more than a newsletter. If you think about it, search can change tomorrow. Social could change tomorrow. AI is changing every single day. But email is something that has been around. You have your customer list. What are you doing with it? And we're just going to kind of dive into that, taking email as not just one piece of it, but kind of including it in your whole system, your whole tracking system. Are you actually looking at did we remember to send an email this month? Or how much did our list grow? What did we do to grow our list? How did we communicate out, with our customers or with new people that are trying to find us? And it works when people already know you to keep hearing from you. So that power of, you have these customers, they have trusted you, they either bought from you, there's a reason they're on your list. You may have sent them a quote or an estimate, which again, they requested from you. You have the power of your own data, and it's just making sure that you actually are pushing that forward to keep advertising and marketing for it. So we had done a little bit of a study, and so I'm going to read these numbers off. Email was returning $36 for every dollar spent. Now, this customer was a service-based. It was not. They didn't have e-commerce, so they weren't selling paid products, which is kind of go into my next part. Paid search sat around $2. So they were getting, for every dollar spent, they're getting $2 back, which is not a good return on ad spend. And social advertising was around $2.80. So that was up just a little bit. Email was converting at 4.24% on average, and the social media was converting at 0.59. Again, we're not selling a product, so that does play a large role into that. But 42% of their email was, of all that success, 42% came out of email, and together, paid search and social tied at 16%. So out of all of the marketing efforts that they were doing, paid search and social came in about being about 16% each, but email was at 42%. I know I kind of butchered that when I was initially saying that, so I apologize for that. So email is not the loud channel that you are so excited about, but it is the one that is actually paying. It is paying off, for them to be utilizing their list. Now, these were customers, again, that were already trusting them, and they were just going back and letting them know of the other services that they offer. Yes, you have customers, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it as well. I'm sure there's people that don't realize everything we do at 154i. Can we design you a new logo? 110%. Will most people know that? No. It's not the big item that we sit and push, or most people find us for, or most people get referred to us for, but we absolutely can do it. So it's having those things that people don't realize and going back and just you're informing, you're letting your people know who you are and exactly what you all do, but it's breaking it out in formats that is easy for you to communicate with them. So the absolute best data is yours. When you think about paid, so running some Google ads, we'll jump straight into Google. You stop running those ads, then what? We've had this on different episodes, but that all goes away. Your ads no longer show up. And now people are either finding you, if you're running social, obviously just directly on Google, but your email list you still have, that's yours. Those other things can fall off so easily. And it's just wrapping your head around that mindset that all of these things can change, but you still have control. So jumping into that, we're just talking about you having control. You have this list that people have already trusted you. And I think the biggest thing too is actually growing out that list. And we mentioned right in the beginning of this podcast, are you actually tracking the growth of your list, how your list is performing, all those different avenues other than, yes, you sent out an email this month, good job. And so we have a few different examples that I'm going to show you on sites that we have built that are giving a value add to the end user. So yes, this is where you can come up with a full marketing strategy and you pull all these different avenues together. So whether you're pulling someone in off a paid ad and you're sending them directly to a landing page that you're wanting to collect some data on, I mean, this is where your messaging and everything is extremely important, but it's just how you can also grow your list. But on top of that is, what are you giving? Now, I know you probably shouldn't feel like you have to give something to get something, but nowadays it just seems like that is the thing. But there are different ways. All these examples I'm going to show you, none of them are e-commerce. And obviously it's easy on e-commerce to give, for instance, if it's first time buyer, they can sign up with their email or an SMS and get a discount. Those things are pretty easy, pretty simple. Most people think of that and have that in place and just are ready to rock and roll with that. These are beyond just like subscribe to our newsletter. You'll see a lot of times in people's footers of websites, they just have a little email spot. You can fill out your email and sign up for their newsletter. And I'm not saying that those don't work. And I'm not saying that we have not built those into websites. But that is, to me, isn't how you're actively out there trying to grow your list or giving people a reason to grow your list. So the first one we're going to take a look at is on MidwestLandManagement.com. And if you don't know who Midwest Land Management is, they're the reason you would sign up for this list is for their farm auctions or their land listings. So if you're looking to buy or sell farmland and you want to know when they are putting up new listings or when a new listing hits their site and you want to get an email being notified of that, they have what they call a new listing notification. So this is listed on their homepage of their site. When you first land on their site, there's this little message on who they are. Has about 12 of their most current listings, land listings, and then right below that is a new listing notification. And when you click on that, it brings you up to a form. Now, this form is a little bit bigger than if you were just doing a simple landing page and trying to get in or capture someone's data just right away. But this is a very intentional form, and it's very intentional to the fact that depending on what you fill out is kind of where you fall in and what notifications you get. Like you can get notified if it's in certain price points. And then obviously you can get notified on different farmland real estate. But it's just kind of figuring out, this form does allow you, if you want to get SMS as well. So that part is on there. But I think the biggest point I'm trying to say is, what value add are you giving back to the customer or the visitor on your site to sign up? In this case, you're going to automatically know when they put something new on their site. So when they have new land listings or new auctions, that you get notified because you want to know and you fill out the form to get signed up. their newsletter. I mean, it's just a powerful thing that you can think of that you're going to give a value. You're already going to be sending this out to your other customers that have been with you forever. But why not allow anyone who wants your information? And then you can take that list and advertise for other things. I mean, they do farm management, they have insurance services. You can take that list and keep utilizing it, even though they're signing up for these notifications. So the next example is with Kasuth County, and they have a little link that says notify me. Now, I'll be honest, it doesn't really give you a lot of information, but when you do click on it, it just scrolls you down on the page, on the homepage. And it is for when they post out new, like Agenda in a Minutes on any of their different boards that they have with the county after their meetings or before their meetings, depending which one you're interested in. You can give your name and email, choose which ones you're interested in, and submit it. And when they go on their website and automatically post one of those files into one of those categories, it sends you an email letting you know that it's there and a link to go get it. So again, the value add, it is making people truly making someone's life simpler is all this does. You want to know what is going to happen, and then you want to know what happened during the meeting with the agenda and then the minutes. You can have that automatically sent to you. Again, I'm not saying the county is going to, obviously they're capturing your information to be able to do that, but in the point of this is thinking for your business. How could this work for me? What is something that we give out or should be giving out or could give out that people would want to sign up to receive? We automatically post it to our site and it's going to automatically send them a message. Now, that's just not a default WordPress thing, but when you work with an agency, they can definitely help you get that all set up. And it's knowing that, all right, these people are interested in this. How else can we communicate with them? Giving that value. The value is that they don't have to do anything. It all gets delivered to them and they're already coming for it. And then now what next? Again, this is a county, so I'm sure they're not going out and advertising against it, but I just am showing you different examples that are providing a value and that are giving you opportunities that while you're growing your list. So the last example that I have is Guarantee Gutter, and we had worked with them to build out a calculator. So right when their page loads, there's a button that says get a free instant quote. And instant is the biggest word here. Free also. It is a quote, so that is a big thing to take away as well. But you can go through, there's a 2-step process. You answer about 5 or 6 questions, and most of it is required. So do know that for it to actually give you that number, and it's a rough estimate, but for it to give you that rough estimate, you do have to supply some information. But what happens is that you put in your information, you answer the questions, you click that submit button. At that moment, they have captured everything in a form base, which at that moment your email's been, you submitted the form, but then it automatically on screen gives you that estimated price. You are adding such a simple added value for someone, who's coming to their site, whether it was organic, whether it was paid. They can come on and they can get a rough estimate on, okay, this is what that's going to cost. From there, they can schedule a call if they want to. So it's just having these different ideas on how can you give a value add? How can you get people to want to use your site? You're getting their information, and then what? What are you going to do with it? So Guarantee Gutter is part of Midwest Companies, and they have like 7 or 8 different companies where they offer different services. They have a spray foam. They do a lake service with their docks and boat hoists. They have a landscape company, and I should be able to list out a few more, but they're not coming to me off the top of my head. But just think of all the opportunities. Yes, they came in on gutters, but they may need more that they don't even realize that you have. But now you have the opportunity because you grew your email list just by giving people, and you're giving them a price. It's not that the price isn't going to be there. And again, it's a very rough estimate, but you will know at that moment, being that end user, like, yep, I can afford that, or that was in my price range, or that is what I thought it would cost, to know that now I should talk to them. And they can reach out to you as well because you filled out the form. But like I said, even on that last screen, there's a way that you can schedule a call with them. So if you were happy, I shouldn't say, no one's happy to pay for anything, but if that price aligned with what you had in your mind, or it's aligning with what you're seeing from other people, if you're just out there getting estimates, you can schedule a call right there with them. But as the company side who had taken the time to do the calculator, you just grew your customer list. You just grew that email list that now you can help perform additional marketing to on data that you own. It's not rented. It's earned because you put in the time and effort, but you're not paying every single time to get someone to your site unless you're running paid ads to go with it. And that's just a completely different story. And one thing I kind of wanted to dive into, and I showed you a few examples that have large, I wouldn't even say large, but longer list of options to fill out. Now, there are very specific examples to help facilitate what was going to happen next for those individuals. And that was extremely important. If all the systems were going to work, they had to fill out that information. But on average, if you have 3 form fields, people convert at a 10.1% over if you have, let's say, around 9, it drops down to 3.6. So the less number of fields that you're asking for, the better off your conversion rate's going to be. We're working with a customer right now, and they're going to try some different types of marketing. Obviously, we're driving everyone to their site. It is a service base, so they can't just come buy a product. It is to get them to learn more about them. Biggest thing is capturing their information. Now, there's a couple people around the table that want to ask a lot of questions. And it's all a generational thing, truly. And it's thinking of who their customer truly is, and then who's coming and who they're trying to talk to. So generational wise, they actually thought, well, I would never fill that form out to start. So there was that. And then different generation thought, well, I would go on 8 different sites and fill out all 8 of them, whatever they needed, and then get whatever information that was best, and I'd make my decision from there. So the older generation just wanted that phone call. The younger ones were perfectly fine filling out the form, but they didn't want to give out too much information. And so part of it too is finding that fine line, doing some A and B testing. A and B testing just means that you would have, if for instance, you're running some ads, you'd run them to the separate pages to see which one was converting better over a certain period of time. And for us, it's going to be fun and interesting. We're going to try to work it a little bit 2 ways. You're still going to have the opportunity to request more information off a form, but then we're going to try to do the schedule a call too, just to see if that would make a difference for that generation that just wanted to talk to someone versus the generation that was willing for someone to call them to have that discussion. And my point behind it is, in the end, they will capture their email both ways. Because when you're scheduling that call, it still gets tied to your email to give you those notifications that you have chose a time, what the time was. And they will get that to push on through. Or if you just did the form fill, again, it will capture all that. But kind of back to that landing page that we were just talking about, I just wanted 3. Name, phone, email. We're going to leave a spot for questions or comments, but it wasn't going to be required. And the only 2 things that were going to be required were name and email. And that's kind of where, again, on the generation side that said that they wouldn't even fill the form out to start, they wanted to ask more information. They wanted to capture even more information than what was being put out at that moment. But what makes me laugh is that they said they wouldn't have filled it out even to start with. And then they're the ones wanting a little bit more information. So we're compromising a little bit. We're not going to really change what's required because we do want the least amount of friction. And I always have that feeling, unless you're starting to get a lot of junk through that form, but having the opportunity to realize if someone or if it is a quality lead or not is better than them just never filling out that form to start with. So yes, it might take you some time to have that conversation, or you're going to send a few emails before you realize like this person really truly isn't that interested, or this actually was really worth my time. But it's realizing that if the least number of fields that you can ask for, the higher the rate of that conversion is going to be. And not being afraid to not, or I shouldn't repeat that, being okay having to follow up with them to ask some questions. I think less is more when it comes to that. When we had the Fine Men's Clothing store, and at one time we sold a lot of custom shirts. And when you were buying those shirts in the very beginning, you used to have to fill out every single size. So when we took over, you had to fill out every single dimension to help build that shirt out. Well, if you were a repeating customer, great. You probably knew that. But if you were a brand new customer and had never ordered that before, it was a lot of information that people didn't realize. And so the second we took where they had to fill out every single dimension and just let them choose the style. So whatever the fabric was, whatever color that they wanted, the buttons, when you just let them style it, and we just had a lot of clear messaging that we'd be in touch following the submission to gather their dimensions that we would need to build out the shirt. The conversions started happening so much faster. So it's just having that thought process to realize that, like, yes, you do need this information, but do you need it before you ever talk to them? And that is where, if you are comfortable getting less information and being willing to find out more information after it comes in, that is when your conversion rates are going to be even higher on people coming into your form. A couple other things for email before we jump into our customer question is email only can be hurting you if you're not using it. I wouldn't say to only send emails when there's promotions. There's things happening when you're with your company. There's things that you can be talking about. There's different services that you can feature. There might be people that you can feature or what you're doing. There's always something you can be talking about if you haven't emailed in months. So yes, you get really inspired. We're going to do email. You send your email and then you come back 3 months later and you're like, oh, need to send another one. If you constantly I shouldn't say constantly. There's a thing within almost email marketing platforms. And I guess before I even jump into that, one quick thing I need to say is do not send mass emails from your personal email account. Get email marketing platform. MailChimp is a super easy one. People like Constant Contact. If you're doing anything, Klaviyo is fantastic, especially if you're doing anything with e-commerce and tying it all together. Klaviyo also can be fantastic just for emailing out all on your own. But you will spend a little bit more when you're using that. But using a platform so you don't ruin your own account mass emailing. So with all of this, get an email marketing platform if you don't have one. If you have HubSpot, if you're using a different CRM, sometimes those are pre-built in depending what you already have, where your list actually already lives with that. But just have an email marketing platform when you are sending out these emails that we're kind of talking about. And I lost my train of thought on kind of where I was going. Oh, it was inactive customers. When you have inactive customers that have never opened, so you have they don't interact, they don't open, they haven't interacted with an email in how many different campaigns, don't be afraid to cut them out. And I think a lot of people are usually all hesitant because they worked hard or they were a customer or maybe they unsubscribed. And that's fine. let them unsubscribe. Well, you have to truly let them unsubscribe, but don't worry about that. A small active list is way better than a huge list that has a tiny interaction rate. So keep your email list up to date. Pay attention. I'm not saying every time you send an email, clean it up, but I'd go in once a quarter, seeing who was or isn't, I should say, really communicating with you at all, because you don't need to keep sending them messages if they're not interested. Just don't keep your list stale, keep it up to date. And other things like that is having, when you're working with an email marketing platform, there's different things that you can automate. So whether you're going to do like a welcome series when someone first comes, and when you do e-commerce, a lot of this is pre-built into those e-commerce platforms, but you can set up different automations. So some of that work is done for you. Realize what your software can do when you're using it and utilize it. Don't be afraid to have some automations that automatically go. You don't have to personally feel like you have to go send every single message that is going to be coming out of your company. There are different ways to make your life a lot simpler, and don't be afraid of doing that. And if you have questions on email, we're always happy to answer anything when it comes to that. Email, like I said in the beginning, is something that usually gets overlooked as not a factor of how they're going to market. And I just think when you sit back and think that you have this data and you're not utilizing it, that when you start to utilize it, the changes that it can impact on your business as a whole. And so we're going to jump into our customer question of the day. It is, how important are Google reviews? And I love this question because this question to me is everything. And I always say extremely important. And especially when you're thinking, if you're a local business and you're wanting to be found, yes, you can do all these different things on social and you can have a website and you can have all these things, but most people fall into a map search. And with local SEO rankings, Google uses your review quantity, quality, and recency as ranking signals. So quantity, quality, and recency as ranking signals. The easiest thing you can do you ready? This goes back to email. You have their information. Why aren't you using it? You have these customers, and now all you have to do is ask them for the review. And now I know a lot of people get a little bit afraid to do that or don't feel comfortable doing that. One easy thing you can just say is, if we've provided you a 5-star service, we'd love a 5-star review. There's different softwares out there that honestly, if they tried to rate you anything less than a 4-star, you can actually get an email to help resolve that issue if they were having one. I know they say that really isn't correct to do, but I'm just saying that is an option out there. But it is just not being afraid to ask your customers that you worked with. You're going to know the ones that you probably don't need to ask. If something didn't go as planned or as it should have went, but you're going to have those customers that everything was well. It was a great experience, and just asking them is huge. And they should be asking people as well, so it shouldn't be new to them. But just understanding, if you want to rank in your Google, it is one easy thing that you can do. And I always say shoot for 50. Go get 50 reviews. I wouldn't stop, keep asking, but shoot for 50. If you're sitting at 20, go get 50. You're sitting at 1, go get 50. Keep growing your reviews. It will compound over time, and you're not going to regret growing out your Google reviews. And honestly, it could be one of your most impactful marketing pieces that you do over all the other things that you have going on, especially when you're local. If you are that local business looking for people to find you locally, so many people start with reading a review before they even think about clicking onto your site, giving you a call, or stopping by. They're going to go see what other people have experienced. And when you can have that data for them to read, then you can get them in your door. even if you're running Google Ads, that you can pass through your rating and people can read those reviews from there on your ads. So again, they can just be extremely impactful. Go get them. Don't be afraid to ask for them. And then we're going to move on to our featured project of the day. And this is Client Community Services. They've been providing services to persons with disabilities since 1955, which is just extremely incredible. They used to be on a custom CRM, and we moved them with a new design to WordPress. And you can go on their site, clientcommunityservices.org, and just learn a little bit more about them, what they have to offer. There's ways to donate so you can help them out. And you can just, like I said, see what is happening with them. Again, it is clientcommunityservices.org. So that is all we have for you today. We appreciate you tuning in, whether you are catching us on video on YouTube or just listening to us on whatever podcast platform of your choosing. But please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.